2, 1. All right, so another chapter. Now we're diving into statistics. This is for kind of anyone who's interested in that. So data analysis and utilizing graphs, most likely in grade 12. So for data management and probability course. And as you go through that, I figured I'm going to do an introductory video because there are kind of numerous topics that I am going to break down in smaller videos. It would just seem a little bit too long. So the goal of this is just to give you an overview and then introduce you to this kind of data analysis with graphs, with a very simple example that I think everybody will understand. It's rolling a die. Standard die which has kind of 6 sides, then graphing it up, and then kind of going through certain things to be able to give you some kind of a perspective, and then I'll end that video so that you can go on to the rest of them. Now, one thing that I will for sure encourage you to do, anybody who has gone through math kind of as you're in high school, I would encourage you to go back to grade 9. So I posted on my site. So if you're on these videos, you're probably utilizing the 1mjourney.com, where I have pretty much all the content with regards to high school math kind of viewpoint. So you should go back to get yourself back again with some of the terminology is into relations. So that's when you were starting to do a little bit of graphing, kind of X, Y, you're doing slopes and so on. It's not that component. It's the first component of just introducing kind of data, talking about trends, interpolated trends, extrapolation. So those kind of items. I'm going to put up a link up above to that relations kind of part 1 that's going to bring you back to grade 9. Watch the first few short videos, and then you can come back if you don't remember some of that content. I think it's worth watching that. So in statistics in general, when you're going to be starting this, it kind of captures 4 different points of idea. So in statistics, we gather data. We call this word data. That's why, I mentioned that relations, if you watch it, so we can collect all of this information from surveys, things that we are interested in, what is happening in the world, what colors people like, probability as well. You can try to see trends and probabilities. Okay, you can look at stock market and you can analyze that and you can gather data from there. You can go in a hospital, you can gather data on what is happening to the patients, their pain levels, all kinds of different ideas that we're interested. And statistics is basically kind of fourfold. So we gather our data, and that gives us raw data, where we just have a bunch of information, which we most of the time now will gather it up, in some kind of a file. And then what are we going to do with that data, right? We want to be able to organize it in some way. So, the second component of statistics is typically trying to organize your data in some form. You can put the data into intervals or groups. You can just have them sparsely kind of throughout as you collect that data. But the idea is once you gather it, once you have them, let's say in a hat, okay, that data is useless, or pieces of paper, if you're distributing surveys. Okay, you can gather that data, you can collect it all up, but then you got to start organizing. What are you trying to see? And then once you have it organized, then you start analyzing the data. You want to see trends, like what is it that you're interested in? So if you're going to be in a hospital and you want to see, let's say the data through the month of January or whichever month, okay, and then how many beds are occupied, or how many patients, had a virus and then they checked into emergency. You want to try to analyze those kind of trends to see and pick off information that hopefully, you're going to learn from. So you're going to be analyzing it. And then lastly, you're going to try to present it in some way. Now, the analysis and the presentation sometimes go hand in hand. Sometimes people want to try to throw up kind of a presentation in terms of, when I say presentation, it's mostly graphs in some kind, because picture and graphs, they tell a lot of things, okay, about data and what's happening. so you can see those different trends and then you can analyze. So that's what this chapter is about. It's trying to figure out, okay, these 4 different steps, and then within these steps, you have quite a bit of terminology. So, you're going to run into, once you have your data and you're interested in something, you're going to want to be able to figure out, okay, what variable am I going to choose? So those variables, if you've gone through high school, my assumption is that you've done the math. Those variables can be both kind of qualitative or categorical, okay, or quantitative, where then you have continuous and discrete. I'll talk about those, okay, as you're going through. Okay, I'll put up a link up above there, qualitative and quantitative, but I'll try to avoid the links so that if you really want, you can pull up this introductory, okay, on my playlists, which is really kind of introduction to statistics. Okay, so maybe I'll put up a link to that. And then once you see it, you're going to be seeing all these terms, and I'm going to be breaking these down more and more. So from that, you're going to be creating frequency, either tables, you're going to have some diagrams, maybe some polygons. Not everyone uses those. You're going to get into histograms and bar graphs, right? I'll try to do, that frequency table and some diagrams, some graphs within this little short video at the end, okay? But then you can do a lot more with them. You're going to get into something which is called cumulative frequency graph, or an ogive, okay? I'll do a little example in this video, but I'll do a much bigger one later on. So you're going to see that, okay? Then you're going to get into trying to figure out, if you have a lot of data, if you have very large data sets, when they're enormous, then you can start trying to think about, okay, am I going to create groups for these, or some classes or intervals? So you'll think about that, okay? And then, I'll talk about also relative frequencies. So those are typically given in percent or fraction. Sometimes even actually the cumulative frequencies are given as percent and fraction. But the relative frequency, which is, how big the groups that you have with respect to the total. And, finally, we'll get into some qualitative or categorical data, things like if you're interested in colors or pain levels of patients or the satisfaction that students might have. So those are more qualitative instead of quantitative. So that goes back to that, variables where it's qualitative and quantitative, that explanation, and then showing you that you have different types of graphs. So the graphs you'll see, you're going to see things like Pareto charts, which are one particular type of graphs. You're going to see histograms, okay? You're going to see pie charts, bar graphs. And I'll try to do a lot of these examples on those major ones and try to talk about those, all right? And you'll see that through the playlist. This is just an introductory video to more or less tell you what to expect. I didn't know how to exactly set this up, but I thought, let me give this introductory video, give you a short example, and then start breaking things down for you, all right? So for our short little example, okay, that I have, okay, I'm going to do something very simple, right? And then that's going to get us started into this idea of kind of statistics. So let's say you wanted to take 50 rolls of a 6-sided die. You studied that in probability, like you can figure out what the probabilities, what the theoretical probabilities are. But here, if we were doing an empirical study, so what if I did take a die and I started rolling it, once, recorded what it was, twice, recorded what it was, 3 times, recorded what it was, and so on up to 50 times. And then I would have basically my data collection, right? I would be able to collect all of this different data. And then now I can start to organize it. And we're going to be organizing here. We're going to do a tally, okay, and a frequency table for these. So we're going to try to have that organization. We're going to be providing a graph, right, that we're going to be able to present this, right? I'm not going to do much analysis here, but it's going to be those kind of 4 parts that you have within those statistics in this very simple example to get us kicked off. So gathering the data, organizing it in a table, and then kind of presenting it, not much really analysis, but we can certainly see what will happen, right, out of those 50 rows. And I think everybody understands this example because you can imagine a standard die and then you can roll them up. All right. So in order to do this, what I'm going to do is instead of taking a die and just start rolling it, it's going to take me a little bit of time. I'm going to actually use an internet tool where it provides me random, right? So just like as I would, okay, which there's no kind of favoritism between the 6 sides of the die. Okay, I'll take random results between 1 and 6. I'll utilize an actual website for that. And then it's going to spit out for me 50, okay, of those results. So I'm going to do that first, all right? And I'll show you that in a second. I'll load it up and set it up. And then we'll take that and then we'll start answering these questions one by one. All right, so on the screen you see random.org. I like it. You know, it's a very quick one, so notice I put random.org in my search engine and then I just put dice. So now it just gives me dice roller, right? So it will just generate these. Now the number of dice that I'll have, I actually only want 1. So I'm going to change that up and then I'm going to roll the dice, okay, so that I have this, okay, within here. So now it can start doing that. Now I'm going to try to go back in here. Okay, so within here, so how many roll virtual dice? So that would have been 1. You know, we wanted 50, so I'm going to put 50, okay, within here, and then I'm going to record the results. So here you go. So let's roll them up, okay, and then you have your 50 rolls. So now with this, I'm going to cheat a little bit in here. So let me kind of do that, okay, and let me... So those are my dice. I just want to make it a little bit smaller so I can insert it into, okay, so save to photos. And let me go back in here. So that's a nice tool that you can have now in my library. And then I'm going to just choose that. And these are my results instead of rolling it. Okay, so this randomly had rolled it for me. All right, so now I want to be able to construct. So this first line that you see here, so provide a tally and a frequency table. So I'm going to do that, right? So this is basically a table, and what it will have is, okay, we're going to have, so this is just asking me, okay, for really kind of two things. So this is my roll, okay, or my die, and then the results I can have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. For tally, when they're tallying it up, you know, you will see this as being in this particular way. So I'm going to kind of take the ones, right? So that's going to be the first one. So I see a 1 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so I have 10 of these, and tallying it up is in this way. So this is the old school way of being able to count it up. And then my frequency, so frequency, this would just simply be written in regular number format. So that would have been 10 of them. Now I'm going to fill this up, and I'm going to do it in fast forward fashion so we're not wasting too much time, but I just wanted to show you that first row. So I'm going to do that for 2, 3, and so on, and then I'll be back. All right, so I'm back, and you see here, so I have done the tallies, so there's 50 rolls, and I had 10 ones, 10 twos, 9 threes, only 4 fours, 8 fives, 9 sixes. Now we know kind of probability-wise, they should be all equal probable, right? But that happens only if you kind of start rolling more and more and more and more and more as you go through. But for 50, it could honestly happen. It's, probability is very low, but in 50 rolls, you might get something like rolling 4 only 4 times. In any case, so this is exactly what a table would look like when you're just trying to do a tally and a frequency table of the results. So that's what I would have. Now it tells me for part B to construct a bar graph and then a frequency polygon for your results. So within here, this indeed can be a bar graph because we have very distinct roles. I mean, they're numerical, but it doesn't really matter. This is actually, if we're talking about a variable, if we're interested in the role, it's actually qualitative. It's not quantitative at all. We're not measuring something, which is a quantity. We're just measuring roles and then which actually falls. It's like almost like having leaf colors. It's pretty much the same thing. So we can do a bar graph here, which is utilized for qualitative. And then you'll see that if you watch those future videos. But in this simple example, I just want to illustrate to you, how that would actually look like. And I will construct it, but I'm going to construct it kind of in fast forward fashion so that you can see that. And what else I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cheat here. I'm going to put the template and put a grid on this just so that it allows me, okay, to do that. And here's my, actually here, I'm going to let me take this up, okay. I'll copy this down. Copy it down because it looks like it just shifted this below there. So I'll paste it within here. So constructing that bar graph, so let me do exactly that, okay, within here. So I know that, so my highest value is 10, my lowest value is 4. So I have to construct it where I'm going to put, okay, on the x-axis my variable. So my variable is actually the roll number that I have. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's on the x-axis. And then on my y-axis is going to be the actual frequency that I have. And that's going to construct my bar graph, and I'm going to do nice bars, kind of which are rectangular, that you'll see in just a moment. So let me construct this in the following way. So I'm going to go and do this. All right. So that's on my y-axis. Here is my x-axis. And what I will do is I'm going to kind of, since I have, so I'm going to utilize, so this is going to be my 1. I'll put a little separation there. Let's see, this is going to be my 2. This is going to be my 3. This is my 4. Let's see, I'm going to try to extend this out, and I'll shift this. This is the beauty of utilizing software. It's much easier, so I'm going to shift this back out there. So now I have, well, that didn't work. Here, let me shift it so it aligns with the grid. There we go. Okay, so that's 4. And you'll see this as I construct it. Okay, this is 5. And I guess, I can put, that's all right. Within here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to shift this back a little bit. Okay. So that I can shift this way. So I can just fit my 6 there. That's all I want to do. And then here's my 6. Okay, so it's going to be on the last one. So this is going to be spread out. And then this is my, that's my 6 in there. Okay, so this is the roll number. This is going to be the frequency. Now frequency, so we have, I guess it was 10. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to make them smaller. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, I'll put 11 and 12. So that is my frequency that you'll see here. So this is the frequency, okay, in ones that I'm counting them up, and we can label them. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, so on. Okay, so we can do that. And now in terms of graphing this, so the bar graph that I'm going to utilize, and I'll switch the color, I'll put it in red. So, it's going to be, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so this is going to be 10 all the way up to there. All right, so let me do a nice bar. It's going to be, that's why I like using this. Okay, so I'm going to plot this in here. And I'm going to put a style on it, and I'll fill it up here, so that you can see that. And that's why it's going to be called a bar graph. Now, the beauty with this is that I can kind of duplicate this and shift it over. So I'm going to shift those over. So I have 10, 10, and let me fill out the other ones in fast forward fashion. All right, so there you have it. Okay, so I just filled it up. So those are the bars in the bar graph. This is the, so we've done, we had the data. Okay, so here was our original data, right? So that's the collection of data. Now we organize the data, so we basically did some table. Okay, now we can certainly see the trends in this. We can see that 1 and 2 were the highest ones, so we can analyze all we like. And then we can present it, okay? We can present it in a table, but we can also present it in a graph. So those are the kind of components of statistics that you have. It's not very difficult, but as you see them, you can kind of catch on. Now, if you wanted to present, okay, so sometimes they'll do, they'll ask you, and I think they did here. Yeah, so they said frequency polygon. This word polygon isn't used too often. I actually don't use it much. But instead of using bars, what you can use, maybe let me switch the color here. Okay, I'm going to put a dot all the way through on all the points, kind of at the center at the top. And you can connect these. And once you connect this, all right, so this is called the frequency polygon, where the result instead of bars is just used. It's kind of just used as a regular lines that you would have, and it can create. It's not technically a polygon, but okay, it can create that. And then what you would do with these, you would just remove them, right? So if you remove this, then now this is called just a frequency polygon, because you can also see from this, how many of each rows that you had. I like the bar graphs better. It just kind of stands out. It's more visual. This one is, I find it's a little bit sloppy, but I mean, you can certainly see where the dip is, so you can see the trend. So it goes down and then it comes back up for this one. So that's what this one would be. Now, for part C, provide an additional column in your table of part A that holds the cumulative frequency. So it's just this word cumulative that I wanted to throw out at you. You're going to see that in the future. So cumulative just means you're adding things up, So you might have, when you study, you have a cumulative test. It means it's cumulative, so it just adds up from the start and it just keeps adding and adding. So if you were doing this as a table, it's actually not that difficult. So you would simply add an additional column within here. So this would have been the cumulative. I'm not going to fill it in here, but cumulative, frequency. You can write that out. I'm going to extend this. I'm getting sloppy here, but I think you'll know what I mean. So within here, so cumulative is, you start from the beginning. So this is, you started with 10, and now you're just adding them up. So now this, so cumulative, so it's 10 plus 10, so this is 20. This would have been 29. This becomes 33. This becomes 41. And this becomes 50. And it shouldn't surprise you because that's how many rolls we had. So that is the cumulative frequency that we have in here. And if you wanted this, in part D, it says construct a cumulative frequency graph with both kind of total number. So this is the total number. And then it says percent on the right axis. So you can actually change these to percents, right? So for instance, if I shift this over, I'm going to do that on the side. You can shift it to percent, because 10 out of the 50, so this is 20%. Then it's 20 out of the 50, right? So this becomes 40%. And you can continue on. So I'm going to fill that up in fast forward fashion, but I'll have the cumulative percentages as you go up. And of course, the last one should be 100%, right? Now this will depend on your data and then your rounding. For us, it actually is only 50. And so for this data, it's going to look pretty nice. So let me just do that. All right, so there you have it. I mean, you don't need a calculator, I guess, for this one, because it is out of 50, so you can just double it and then you get the percentages. And so for that, if we wanted to do a construction of a graph, so unfortunately, we're going to have to go all the way up to 50 here. So that's going to be the total. So let me do that in terms of this graph. I mean, I have this one already, so I can change this up within. And it's not going to look like you see it here, but on the cumulative frequency, so this is cumulative frequency, and I'm going to shift this a touch. I don't like this. I want to just show you exactly. Let me just shift it back so I can fill out these different things for you. All right, and that's going to change these. That's all right. All right, so I'm going to, now, because we're doing cumulative frequencies, there's not going to be any bar graphs or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I can do that right there. If I did it, I could space them out a little bit further if I want, to make this look a little bit better. So I can certainly do that. So let me delete this. This is all up to you. You do have tools that can do this for you. So maybe, if I would switch this every 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it does look a little bit better. Okay, so this is my roll number that I got. This is no longer valid here. So I'm going to remove that. And then here are my percentages. So I want to go all the way up to 100%. So I probably will go by, tens. So this is going to be, okay, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to, it says on the left to do the frequency. Let me just see, construct graph with total. So total number. So that's the total number. So we're going to have to use these. I'll use that on the left, and then on the right, I'm going to do percent. So this is going to be interesting because I'm going to have something similar here on the right. This is not necessarily always done, okay, but I'll do it. So do it on the right. Okay, that's going to make it easier for me. So that's going to be 10%, 20, 30, 40, all right, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100%. So that means that this has to be 50. So this is in percent. Okay, this is the total number, right? So those are the numbers that I have. So cumulative frequency there. And I guess 10% would be, so this is going to be 5. This is 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 40 and 45. So I did it by 5s. And now you would simply take this. So we started off. So that's going to be 10, 20, 29. So this is 10. Then it's 20. Then it's 29. So it's going to be just below that 30. 33, 41, and 50. So 33. So just a little bit above 33. Then it goes to 41. So 33 is going to be, actually it's going to be a little bit higher, 41, a little bit above, and it's going to go up to 50. And now we would just simply connect them through. So sometimes you smooth it out, okay, sometimes you just directly connect them. So this depends on who's teaching, depends how they want it. I think the easiest thing to do is, so this is just to connect them in straight lines, but you can certainly do a nice smooth line if your hand can handle it. So there you have it, and now you can see, so that's the cumulative, so it just keeps adding these up. So this is a nice introductory example with regards to what you're going to be expected, and you're going to see numerous of these. It's not super difficult, it is time consuming, and it is worth understanding these statistics and kind of understanding these various graphs and tables. So that's it for this introductory video. It's a super long one. I apologize for that, but I think it gives you a good sense of what to expect, and we'll see you in the future ones. All right, thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.